Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. I hope your week is going well and that you, your family, your friends, everyone in your world is staying strong and healthy right now. And yes, kids, today, well, it's a day here in this country that is not that fondly thought of. Because yes, it is tax day here in the United States.
Isn't that great? I mean, isn't that just kick you in the crotch, spit on your neck, fantastic?
And you know, I realize that right now, in my home country of the United States, we've got a lot of division. We can't agree on anything right now. If one side says, hey, the sky is blue, the other side says, no, it's not, it's red. If one side says they like warm weather, the other will swear they prefer it to be freezing. So today, on this day, the day that here in the United States, we must file our taxes or else request an extension. We know how those go. I feel like we need to come together as a nation. Let us put aside our differences. Let us band together as one. Because, hey, today on tax day, I think we can all hate the Internal Revenue Service together. Just don't mention my name to those jackbooted thugs. It's like putting my name out to the KGB. Hey, we have a lot of things going on in the world of sports right now. Rory McIlroy won the Masters in back-to-back years on Sunday. The NFL draft will be coming a little bit later this month, and both the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs will be beginning this weekend. But today on The Dose, I have a special guest that is doing some very important work in the world of sports, and it is something that I think you should hear. Right now, let's get over to our interview with Kelly Reilly Baldwin. Joining us this week on the Daly Dose, I have got a guest that I'm very interested to talk to because she has an interesting story. We were just talking a little bit before we started recording. She's had an interesting life. She's done a lot of different things. But Kelly Reilly Baldwin is a writer. She's a humanitarian. She has done a little bit of coaching. She's a former director of youth programs, business analyst. She's done a million different things. She was inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame with her husband, Keith Baldwin. You might remember him a little bit for his NFL career. But she's also been involved in medical studies involving concussion treatments, Parkinson's disease. Kelly formed a special relationship as a young person with someone that you're going to recognize, and it would lead her down a path towards helping a number of young athletes and people. She's still carrying on that work today. Kelly, welcome to the Daly Dose. We appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you so much, Clint.
Kelly, let's kind of jump in a little bit. Where did you grow up? Where are you from? What part of the country?
I grew up in Strongsville, Ohio, which is a suburb on the west side of Cleveland. And my parents divorced when I was young, so I bounced back and forth between Ohio and New Jersey growing up.
Okay. Did you have an athletic background? What were you doing as a kid? Were you playing sports? Were you doing things?
Not team sports, but I skied, I sailed, I was a cheerleader, I had a horse. So I was active and involved in things, but never team sports, and certainly never boxing.
Well, yeah. And at that time, I don't know if there were nearly as many opportunities as there are now. It's just changed so drastically. But you started to get involved in these things. You started to get involved in, I guess, what combat sports, I guess we would call them. How did your life kind of take you down that direction?
So I was never a boxing fan, and I didn't pay attention to boxing at all as a child or a teenager. My father did, my stepdad did, but I didn't. And then I was just, I would say by chance in a hotel lobby where Muhammad Ali was with his entourage, but I don't really believe that much in chance, especially when I see, how things come together to lead someone's life down a certain path. So I think it was meant to be. Muhammad's business manager says the keeper of the stars brought us together and knows just what souls need to come together. But we met Muhammad Ali in the Plaza Hotel in New York City. And from that meeting, his business manager offered to help me because at that time I was pursuing some modeling and acting opportunities as a mid-market model from Cleveland, Ohio. Okay. And his background had been in film. He was a director of marketing for MGM Studios before working with Muhammad. And so he said he'd help me. And we kind of became friends, and we started traveling around with the Ali entourage. And this was in 1978. When we met. Okay. So it was at the tail end of Muhammad's fighting career. He had 2 fights left in him, and he was focused on developing an amateur team, many of whom would go on to become world champions in their own right. And we just kind of got absorbed into that incredible group of people and spent about 5 years just in that whirlwind, and it shaped me in many ways and shaped my future.
Kelly, I promise I'm not trying to age you. How old are you when you meet him? What age are you at this point?
I was 13.
Oh, wow.
I met Muhammad, in middle school.
I don't want to spoil anything in the future. I know you're working on a few things. You got to tell me, what was meeting him like? How did this come about?
Yeah, so I mentioned that I wasn't a boxing fan, but you did not have to be a boxing fan to be a Muhammad Ali fan or to know and be in awe of Muhammad Ali. He was, at that time, the singular most famous person in the world, not just in the United States. And this is in a pre-internet age where being known worldwide was not something that was, easily achieved. Right. But Muhammad clearly was the most recognizable name and face across the globe. And he was, I mentioned I was doing some modeling. He was on the cover of more magazines than any supermodel ever was, and doing television commercials and so forth, all in addition to his boxing career. And so I, was in awe of him. And very quickly, when we met, I think shifted from being in awe of him as a icon and personality and celebrity, and became in awe of kind of his spirit and his temperament, his caring ways, his compassion. When we met in the lobby that day, I was in tears because I had left something in a taxi cab that was very important to me. It was my modeling portfolio. And I had left that in a taxi cab. And I think that my state of distraught is what had him send Gene Kilroy over to get me, to check on me. And that is really fitting that that's how we met, because it's one of the things that I think the greatest lessons that I learned from Muhammad is the way he lived his life was that he had a really strong belief that whomever God puts in your path, you look at that person and say, what do they need and what might I be able to offer them? And I think he saw me upset and was doing that. I wonder what she needs, and maybe we can help in some sort of way. And that led to, a beautiful, life-changing friendship.
That's absolutely incredible. That is amazing that you met, like you said, the most famous person on the planet, and you're just a kid at the time. I'm assuming this wasn't just a quick meeting. You ended up kind of getting to know him and having a friendship with him, though. How did that continue?
So Gene was also a photographer. I don't know that he ever worked professionally as a photographer, but he was very into photography. In fact, many of the iconic photos that are available of Muhammad today were taken by Gene. Howard Bingham was Muhammad's most frequent photographer, but Gene was with him all the time and took tons of pictures. So Gene offered that day to let me shoot some photos of you, and we'll see what we can do to help. I'll get them to the right people. We'll get a new portfolio made and so forth. And so Gene shot photos, we exchanged contact information. And once he had developed the photos, because of course those were the days where that took a little while, he reached out to my mom and he invited us to come to Muhammad's training camp. And so he could have another photo shoot with makeup and, with a stylist and with an actual industry photographer. And so I went to Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, where Muhammad had his training camp and had a photo shoot there. And then maybe 2 months later, Cheryl Tiegs, who was at that time the #1 supermodel in the US, she was doing some hosting for Good Morning America. And Muhammad was preparing for his rematch with Leon Spinks. And Cheryl Tiegs and her co-host, David Hartman, came to training camp to shoot a segment with Muhammad about his preparations. And they invited me to come back and meet Cheryl and, pick her brain and see if she might be able to, give me some pointers, I guess. And we took pictures together and so forth. So that was my second trip back to training camp. And so here we were, just a few months knowing each other. And we had been to visit a couple times already on our third meeting. And, I had not yet turned 14 and, things were really starting to roll. And then by my 14th birthday, we had begun traveling. When we left training camp that day with Cheryl Tiegs, Gene said, and I kept my diaries from those age. So I have so many things that I know exactly. My memory is not always great, but because I have these teen diaries, I have so many specific conversations that I recorded. Like when we left camp, Gene asked if we were going to New Orleans. Like he just expected us to be at the fight. And my mom and I were like, going to New Orleans? Of course not, but we started doing those things. And in no time, we were just hemmed into the entourage.
How was it just to hang with him behind the scenes, away from the cameras? Because everyone that I've ever talked to, and I have talked to a few people, they're like, he could just turn it on and turn it off and be the showman and be the most sensitive person on the planet the next minute. I'm assuming that's your experience as well.
That's absolutely my experience. I think that the biggest juxtaposition is a man who gave himself the moniker of the greatest could also be probably the most humble person that I ever knew. And the greatest and the bravado and the teasing and the self-promotion was just that, promotion, and very successful, very well done promotion. Of course, he was confident in his skills and who he was as a man. He had conviction about things. So, the confidence was true, was real, but the humility was so deep. And I saw that play out in big ways and small ways everywhere we went. I remember going to a burger joint near his house in LA and him calling the waitress by name and saying, "That's so cool that you remember her name, or you're so good at names." And he's like, "Why wouldn't I? I come here a lot." And I had written in my diary then, I wonder if she knows that if she showed up at Muhammad's door, he would welcome her in and he would be the one serving her ice cream instead of him being the one being served by her. Like that, it's just who he was. He would answer his own door and he would offer you ice cream or lemonade, and and he remembers the waitress's name. I remember another time when we were checking into a hotel and there was a singer, and I'm forgetting her name right now. She was famous at the time, but not somebody who I don't remember. But anyhow, we were in Australia and she was performing at the Opera House in Australia. And she was checking into the hotel at the same time we were, and she wouldn't wait in line. She cut to the front of the line and so forth. And then the manager motioned to Muhammad that he certainly didn't need to wait in line. Right. And Muhammad's response is, "No, these people were here before me." Like he wasn't going to go to the front of the line. And so it's small things like that. And then it's the deeper things, the way that when he spoke to you, he remembered the things that you said. He asked the questions that mattered. He just had the insight to look at me as a teenage girl, if he met you today, to look at you as a, dare I say, middle-aged man. And
old man.
I don't think he would say that.
He'd be nicer.
But no, what is it that makes this person tick? How might they be hurting? What might they be afraid of? For me, my parents had divorced when I was young. I looked, I think, pretty put together and confident and poised for my age on the outside. But Muhammad saw right through me to my insecurities, that I was a girl looking to prove that I was, worthwhile, worthy of love, looking for safety some kind of way, because I didn't feel that I had safety growing up. And I think he saw that in me, and he saw the needs of other people in a way that few people can figure out as quickly as he had the gift of doing, and then just knew how to tend to that part of your heart, or, minister to your heart in such an amazing way. So
what great lessons. And I'm sure, at that age, you don't grasp really what you're actually getting to witness and what you're actually learning from it. But what phenomenal life lessons you take from that, because those are things every single person on the planet needs that. Every single person on the planet needs to learn that. What great lessons you got at such a young age. And like I said, it probably took a while for it to really sink in, but that is absolutely incredible. Were you saying, and I'm not trying to transition too much, but were you seeing any slips physically with him at that point?
First time I remember being aware of it was in June of 1980.
Okay.
Sugar Ray Leonard was fighting Roberto Duran in Montreal.
Yeah.
And the night before the fight, there was a dinner in honor of Muhammad. I still have a poster from it, from that event. And we went to that event. My whole family went to that fight. My mom, my stepdad, my little sister. My brother didn't go, actually, but I don't know why. Neither here nor there. Right. But we all went there, and we were at this dinner, and Muhammad gave remarks to the crowd that had come out. And as he was speaking, I noticed him speaking more quietly, more slowly, and kind of having a little difficulty understanding him. Yeah. And I asked the person who I was sitting with if they noticed it, because they were also a good friend of Muhammad's and mine. And he said, no, I can still understand him. And I was like, yeah, I can still understand him too, but I noticed. Right. I noticed then. So that was the first time I remember that. And then that was months before he fought Larry Holmes. Oof. I said earlier that it was Muhammad's last 2 fights. It was really Muhammad's last 3 fights.
Because he retired and then came back to fight Holmes, didn't he?
Perfect. Yeah. So in October of 1980, he fought Larry Holmes. And so this was months later. He was in the ring 2 more times after that. And that fight, it was questionable whether he should have been approved for his boxing license to be renewed in Vegas. His physical was very questionable. And you may or may not remember that he had taken some thyroid medicine and taken it in the wrong way, taken too much of it. And that really affected him. And so it's unclear how much of how he was in the ring that for that fight was because of the onset of his Parkinson's, and how much of it was because of other medical things like, not taking this thyroid medicine correctly.
Hey, remember, you should be stopping by DailyDoseSports.com every week to see what new things we have going on over there. We have links to the podcast. We have links to videos. We have links to new articles that go up. In fact, if you missed it this week, an article went up about the state of sports in Denver right now. My home city of Denver, Colorado, has some things going in the world of sports right now. Plus, you can always find Daly Dose gear over there. Maybe you need a t-shirt, a hoodie, a sweatshirt, a baseball cap. You can pick it in whatever color that you want. There are links to it over there. And remember, you always can email the podcast. Maybe you've got a question. Maybe you've got a comment. Maybe you've got a concern. Maybe you're not happy about me making fun of your favorite team. Feel free to reach out to us at dailydosesports@gmail.com. Not to jump too far ahead, but I'm guessing that you seeing him is what ended up leading you down the path of starting to study concussion injury, starting to study head injury, starting to study some of that. Is that how that ended up kind of transpiring because of your relationship with Muhammad?
Absolutely. I mean, I came into brain health advocacy because of people I love. So Muhammad was certainly the first that I witnessed. And, it is, many people believe that Muhammad's Parkinson's was a result of head impact. Some people will argue that it was not, and that, little old ladies who never got hit in the head can develop Parkinson's, and that is certainly true. So no one can say definitively, but watching him and then watching the countless other fighters who I became close to through the years. It's a pretty tight-knit community, boxing.
Sure.
And I had many dear friends who I remain close to this day. Every one of them is having issues cognitively to one degree or another. Some might be minor and some are very severe. But seeing an entire sport impacted and no one coming out of it completely unscathed is a big, big part of why I care. And then I married an NFL player.
Yeah.
And in the NFL wives communities, CTE is a constant conversation. For NFL families, brain injury is an ongoing fear. And the combination of those two worlds, I feel like for me to not do what I can in this arena would be irresponsible and wasting what my life experience is. I think I'm in a unique position. And my husband, through him, I've seen a stark difference between the benefits that are offered to NFL players, both current and retired, financially and medically and educationally, resources. They're plentiful for the NFL. It doesn't mean that it's not a very serious issue for professional football players. It is a very serious issue. And it's a huge cost to count whether the sport is worth the risks that you take. And that's a very personal decision. But the differences, the gap between what's offered to NFL players and what is offered to boxers is absurd.
Sure.
Because basically it's nothing. Boxers have nothing.
Right.
And so I'm really grateful to my husband because he has joined me in having, in being alarmed by that. And oftentimes he's been the one who said, we need to see whatever this opportunity is or this resource is, we need to see if we can get fighters included in this. I'm like, you're absolutely right. And so most recently, there's the Crowley Center for Regenerative Biotherapeutics. They were doing a special study using exosomes derived from stem cells, umbilical cord stem cells, on 100 NFL veterans. That was their plan, that they were going to provide this product to 100 NFL veterans and then monitor them over a period of time to see how it helps them neurologically. And we were able to ask them, and they were agreeable to include fighters. And so we were able to enroll a number of former world champion boxers into their studies. We just this past week hit the limit of 100 athletes, and now they're working to start a foundation in order to continue helping athletes at no charge to them, because it's a pretty expensive product.
Sure.
Yeah.
That is absolutely outstanding, though. That is amazing. And I'm assuming, and I know it sounds like it's very early. Are you seeing early results already?
The results have been really great. The first group that started completed phase 1, which was a 90-day study. Okay. And what's really cool about this is that the exosomes have been used to regenerate cells in other uses, but generally that's done intravenously. But this product is administered through a nasal spray, so anyone can do it at home, and it's non-invasive. And the biggest challenge has been when you're dealing with athletes who have severe memory loss, to make sure that they have a good support system so that they can take their nasal spray 3 times a day, for instance. Right. And sometimes that support system has been me calling the fighters and saying, did you take your spray today? Did you take your spray today? But the results have been great. I have one former world heavyweight champion who I regularly will just get random messages from. And I don't think he would mind me sharing, because I think it's okay to share. So Tim Witherspoon, heavyweight champion, he's one of the people who doesn't mind me talking about his experience with the product. But Tim has regularly reached out to tell me specific things that have changed for him. And it might be things like, I had been getting lost trying to drive from here to there, and now I can find my way. Or I was having difficulty remembering certain people's names, and now all 14 of them are coming to me. Or, he's constantly sending specific examples of things that he has seen change. Other athletes are having marked improvement in their sleep. And sleep is when our brain detoxes. And so if this is helping them to sleep, then the cells are able to do what our body is designed to do, to stop the inflammation, to detox the brain cells, to regenerate. And so the data from phase 1 is still being distilled, and I don't have formal reports on it, but I will very soon. And all of the initial reports have been extremely positive. And now some people have started phase 2, including my husband, Keith. Fortunately, Keith is in very good shape cognitively relative to many people. As I mentioned, the NFL has really good benefits, and one of them is every 5 years we do a brain and body program with Tulane University, and we just did it again in April. And they assess every part of your body and every body and brain, and every kind of medical test you could imagine. And they give you great information, but they do brain scans. And he, as a 7-year NFL veteran, he has evidence that shows up in his scans that he has had, damage to his brain from his career. But thankfully, on a functional level, he's in good shape, but he's still participating in the program. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number one, we want him to have the help to his brain and as much brain longevity and health as he can experience and enjoy himself. But also, if we're advocating and promoting something to people, we feel much better with it being something that we're doing ourselves.
Yes, 100%. And then you can speak from firsthand experience. You know what they're going to go through that much more. Speaking of Keith, I believe I have this right. You both were inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. How did this come about? How did you go from never fighting? You're in the Hall of Fame. What is going on here?
Yeah, even our kids thought that was pretty hilarious. So, and a number of people have asked, like, which of the martial arts do you practice? And we actually were inducted for just contributing to fighters' lives, for the brain health advocacy. And it was a great honor and a huge surprise.
Well,
when we got that call, we were like, do you have the right call?
Yeah. Well, and it's well-deserved, because the work that you're doing, and again, you're talking about some of the people having some of those cognitive issues. Those are so life-changing to these people. Mm-hmm. Remembering your kids' names, remembering why you walked into a room. These are such impactful things that you're involved in. It's truly, truly deserved. And I'm genuinely proud for both of you. Now, we were talking a little bit before, and I don't want to keep you too long, because I believe you're down in Mexico. You probably want to go out and enjoy the beach, being this time of year. My goodness. Kelly, you're living right. I believe you're putting your thoughts together. I believe you're putting together a manuscript, and there could be a book in the works. And I feel like this is a story that needs to be told, because you've got an incredible story, not just of meeting someone as incredible as he is, but also what you've gone on to do to help so many people and so many lives. What do we have going? What do you got you're working on here?
So I've written a memoir. It's called Little Trouble, and I titled it that because that's the nickname that Muhammad had for me as
Perfect.
a teacher. Yeah, and I am now shopping it to agents because I'd like to publish it traditionally. And maybe when the time comes, we could come back and let people know, when it's out.
I would be absolutely all in for it. I'm absolutely, we just met today. It was an honor to meet you. I genuinely was, I'm so encouraged at some of the work that you're doing, because, doing what we do in sports, and we know so many athletes coached for years, and even seeing, some of those kids go on, and to see some of the issues that some of these athletes have going down the road, the work you're doing is so important. And it's not being done enough. It's not being talked about enough. Here is my question to you. Where can people keep up with you? Where can people kind of find you? Is there a place that you would recommend them going to find what you're doing?
Sure. I'd love for people to go to my website, which is just my name, KellyReillyBaldwin.com, and they can sign up there to join my writer's email list, and I can keep them updated. I also would love to be able to embarrass myself in front of as many people as possible by them following me on TikTok. So
perfect.
Which is also my name minus the N, because it's one letter too long. So it's Kelly Reilly Baldwin. Yep, without the N. And Keith and I are on there every day because I've been trying to build an author platform that will eventually help me get the word out about the book.
Kelly, when the book comes out, and I genuinely mean this, please reach out. We would love to have you on again. Would love to read a copy and would love to get that out to people as well. Again, what you're doing, phenomenal work by you. And I've also got to mention your husband, Keith, as well. I remember him a little bit when he was playing football too. So, but yes, believe, was he a Texas A&M guy?
Yeah, gig 'em, baby.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure my memory was accurate, but I thought that he was. Kelly, I want to thank you so much for stopping by the Daly Dose, telling your story, and again, would love to have you back and talk about the book when it does come out. I think it's going to be very well received, and again, it's a story that needs to be told. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Clint. Great time.
Hey, next week on The Dose, we will be catching you up on all that is going on in the world of sports, including those NBA and NHL playoffs, and we will begin taking a brief look forward to the NFL draft. It is coming quickly, so be sure to stop by the Dose and be sure you let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you so much to Kelly Reilly Baldwin for stopping by the Daly Dose. I enjoyed our conversation and hope you'll stop by again. I encourage all of you to go over and check out her work at KellyReillyBaldwin.com. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daly Dose every week. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the texts. Thank you for the tweets. But more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles with someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. I have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Isn't that great? I mean, isn't that just kick you in the crotch, spit on your neck fantastic?